This is Betsy Freilich with Kohler Company, and we are thrilled to be sharing some of the 2019 trends that we're seeing in the fixtures category with everyone today. For those who don't know, we do like to start with a little bit of history. We were founded back in 1873, and that was the start of something big. We think that's important to remind people of as we share some of the future trends and concepts that we're looking for in the future, that we do have a strong history based in Wisconsin. And we started as a tiny machine shop and foundry with our founder, John Michael Kohler, who took a hog scalder, put some feet on it and a powder coating of his own invention, and created the first bathtub back in 1883. So we like to say that we've been innovative from day one. And for those who like fun facts, the first bathtub actually sold for 1 cow and 14 chickens. The kitchen and bath group is our largest and most recognizable business, and what we're going to spend some time talking about today. Now, when we talk about trends and insights for products, we like to look at some of the considerations or dynamics that are playing at a level deeper in understanding what's happening with society today that is creating these trends and influencing these trends. So we are going to spend a few minutes going through what we call some cultural dynamics that are going to help us set the stage and put words to what we are all seeing and experiencing within society today, that we'll see how they manifest themselves through some of the interior design trends that we're seeing. Now, we'll go through a few different insights, but there are two that I like to pause on first, and they are the idea of visual culture and attention is the new currency. So if we start with visual culture, this is really about the rise of using images as a way to communicate with each other. The human brain processes images 60,000 times faster than words, so it shouldn't be a surprise that platforms like Instagram or Pinterest have really taken off. And we find that those platforms, as well as just the general sharing of images, have really helped people communicate design language to each other, because it's so much easier to see and understand in images than it is using just words. Now, the other component, attention is the new currency, is another dynamic that we all have to contend with today. Since the year 2000, the human attention span has dropped from 12 seconds to 7 seconds, which, according to our researchers, is less than that of a goldfish. Now, that shouldn't be surprised when in marketing we talk about things like thumb stopping power and what will make someone stop on Instagram and how can we get someone's attention for just a short period of time. It's a big challenge for all of us in the design world today as well, to make sure that we're capturing our clients' attention. And the interesting flip side to this is that people do have the ability to pay attention to things. How many people will binge watch Netflix shows when they come out on a weekend? People have the ability to pay attention if they're being engaged with content that they're interested in a way that's appealing to them. So we think those are two really important considerations that sort of set the stage for some of the other dynamics that we'll talk through. The first large dynamic that we'll share is this idea of wanderlust. And this shouldn't be a surprise to anyone that travel is something that continually inspires people and that they take back and incorporate into the design of their home or other spaces. We see it from a couple of different perspectives. First, from a color, material, finish palette standpoint, people see and are exposed to new styles, new colors, new things like that they want to take back and incorporate. But we also see this tied to product trends as well. Things like bidet seats or integrated bidet functionality to toilets, what we call our intelligent toilets. We've seen significant increases in popularity because of travel and because people are traveling to hotels where they can experience them and then realize all of the benefits that come along with that, and they want to incorporate that back into their home space. This is something that moving into 2019, we see only growing in importance, both in terms of color, material, finish trends, as well as product-related trends. The next dynamic that we'll talk about is this idea of clean. And when we talk about clean, we mean it on two different levels. First is sort of that base physical clean. People don't want to have germs in their home. They want products that are easy to clean. Over half of North American consumers would identify themselves as quote unquote germaphobes. And as the mother of two small boys, I can tell you I firmly fall into that realm. You want products and spaces that are going to be easy to clean and that stay cleaner longer. The second level of clean has to do with peace of mind and sort of this higher order clean where you have clutter that is gone away. You look at your space and it actually helps increase your mental well-being. According to our research team, over 90% of North American consumers say that their physical space has an impact on their mental well-being. And that's really important. And the idea of clean, both physical and that higher order, are really important to helping achieve that mental well-being. So how this comes to life in product, for example, physical clean is, I'd say, directly tied to the rise of skirted toilets and people wanting to have that toilet that goes all the way back to the wall. There aren't a lot of grooves or nooks and crannies for germs to hide in. It's very easy to clean. An example of how the higher order clean comes to life in product development is actually through things like bathroom vanity solutions and really having great purposeful accessories that can get clutter off of your countertop and down into the vanity so that you don't see all of that in the morning or at night. The next idea that we're going to talk about from a dynamic standpoint is the best of both worlds. And this is going to be an interesting discussion, especially tied to the next dynamic, which I'll give you some heads up on, is this idea of a tech tightrope. So although we're in a society that is continually pushing forward from a technological advancement standpoint, we want and are confident in the fact that technology can bring us value in our lives. There is this yearning for a time gone by, a sense from the past that gives us some nostalgia and allows us to make sense of this increasingly more complex world. I think one of the best examples of how this manifests itself is the idea of the farmhouse trend. We don't see that going anywhere. Apron front sinks have been on the rise for years. I think what will continue to change and evolve is all of the different ways that people can incorporate this idea of farmhouse into their lives. But that is a great example of this best of both worlds coming to life from a design standpoint. So I just mentioned this, but the next dynamic that we'll talk through is the tech tightrope. And I think it's safe to say that technology has become a modern addiction. The average consumer in North America checks their phone 150 times a day. I'm sure some people are doing it right now as you're listening to this webinar. But there is a yin and a yang. While people are very confident, about 56% of consumers say that they have positive feelings about the value that technology can bring to their lives, people are still apprehensive, and there's this sense that no one can disconnect. And you're seeing a lot of service industries pop up that are actually trying to help people disconnect from their technology. Spas are offering digital detox weekends where you go and you check all of your technology in when you get there at the beginning, and then they don't give it back to you until you get out. So it really is this tightrope that we have to walk, especially when it comes to home design and how people want tech or smart products integrated into their house, which we'll touch on a little bit later in this webinar. Treat yourself is another dynamic that we've been watching closely. And what the idea here is that people are feeling more confident in the economy, and people are willing to spend money on things that matter to them. And in the past, these items, whether it's gourmet food, gourmet cocktails, a really excellent kitchen or bathroom, they may have been considered luxuries in the past, but they aren't considered luxuries according to today's consumer. What they want is the ability to spend their money on things that make them happy and that make them excited about being in their space. And so I think really this idea that people are spending around things that make them happy is important. And luckily for all of us, excellent kitchens and master bathrooms are two of the things that top the list of how people want to treat themselves these days. So the final dynamic that we'll talk about is this idea of modern momentum. And it shouldn't be a surprise that this is sort of the culmination of all of the dynamics, with the tech tightrope that everyone is walking, with this idea that people are willing to invest in those things that make them happy, yet people are longing for a sense of the past and have these feelings of nostalgia that they're trying to work through, and people are traveling all over the place and bringing those inspirations back home. We end up with this sort of modern momentum. And from a design standpoint, it does reference the fact that we have very much moved towards a more soft, organic contemporary from a design style standpoint. But this isn't to say that people only want harsh contemporary. This idea of modern momentum means that people want products and spaces that are up to date. And up to date could mean having the latest in technology in a traditionally appointed product. It's less about the design lines and more about what the overall space and feeling that space evokes is. And that has actually led us to this topic that we've been talking a lot about in 2018 and certainly will be as we move into 2019. And it's this idea of what kind of modernist are you? And we really see this idea of modernism on a scale, going from very minimalist on one end up to maximalist on the other end. And the great thing about today's society is that there's a place for everyone. Nothing is wrong here. You can choose to have a more minimalist look, you can choose to have a more maximalist look, and it's relevant today. If you think about it from a fashion perspective, and stepping a little bit out of home design, you could see this coming to life through things or designers like Calvin Klein, more on the minimalist end, and Dolce & Gabbana, more on the maximalist end. There are people and there's appetite for both ends of the spectrum and everything in between. And it's really about finding the spot on the spectrum that is right for you. So now we're going to start talking about impact on design trends. And the first one that we're going to talk about is this idea of modern momentum. And this is how we see some of that idea coming to life in product design. A couple of different examples for us include things like the Veil collection. So if we are talking about a move towards a more soft, contemporary, organically shaped product, this is a great example of that. This is a full suite of products ranging from different toilets to bathroom sinks to a bathtub and everything in between in a few different colors. The next example of products in that modern momentum range would be our very brand new components faucet line. This is a mix and match line where there are 3 different spouts, 4 different handle styles, as well as a single control that comes in a few different finishes. And this plays into a few of the ideas that we have seen from a dynamic standpoint. First and foremost, it has some of those soft contemporary lines that you can see come to life in a very beautiful faucet. But you can also see through some of the images on the screen that this also can come to life in more contemporary or more traditional styling. It's really about finding that spot on the spectrum that's right for you or for your clients and picking the products that can coordinate well together. Next up, from an impact on design trend standpoint, is the best of both worlds, and talking a little bit about how that comes to life. And I already shared that one of the best examples of this is the farmhouse trend. And as I mentioned, our insights team thinks that that is here to stay. And what that means, though, is that there needs to be a variety of different options that can come to life regardless of style that someone has. So the sink that you see on the left-hand side is our brand new farmstead sink. That is a cast iron piece that comes with 2 different leg options, and we are just in the process of rolling that out now. You see the traditional legs in front of you, and there is also an option for more contemporary legs. Continuing with the cast iron material, again in that farmhouse style, the image on the top right is our Whitehaven apron front sink, which is that sort of clean, classic farmhouse type look and product that's available in a variety of sizes and colors. And I think that another really interesting example of how the farmhouse style can have a contemporary spin to it is through the image on the bottom right, and that's our Strive apron front sink. So that's using a stainless steel material to still get that farmhouse look, but in a more contemporary and slightly different way. The next design trend that we'll talk about, or the impacts of dynamics on design trends, are in the color, material, and finish realm. There are a few different styles and trends that we see continuing into 2019. Some of them started in 2018 or even a little bit earlier, but are going to really be making statements in 2019. And the first is this idea of chalk and charcoal. So if you think about classic black and white always being on trend and always being relevant in some way, one of the manifestations that we're seeing right now is a softness of it, a sort of a softening with this chalk and charcoal and just taking the edge off. And a couple of ways that we have brought this to life from a design standpoint is through different neutrals and finishes. So Dune is a neutral that we launched a couple of years ago, but is what we call a whisper where white shouts. It's an off-white that can pair with cool colors as well as it can with warm colors, and it's what we call a full-line color across a lot of our kitchen and bathroom products. And we like to point out colors like this because just like chalk can take the edge off of a harsh white, Dune can take the edge off of the traditionally white toilet. And we often see trim colors or wall colors or tiles that are in off-white or sort of neutral colorways, where this Dune color would actually be a much better design solution than a harsh white would. Another idea that comes to life with this idea of chalk and charcoal is matte black from a faucet finish perspective. And this is something that we started to see a significant increase of in 2018, and we expect to move into 2019. And we are excited to offer this on a range of lines in the bathroom as well as the kitchen. And the final CMF, or color, material, finish trend that we'll talk about is this idea of a peacock effect, or sort of rich, jeweled, deep tones that can be used just as easily for as neutrals in a very dark and dramatic color palette as they can pops of color. And this is a sneak preview coming in early 2019 of our Shadows collection, where we will have a lavender gray, black plum, and indigo blue on a variety of bathroom sinks and kitchen sinks. So we're really excited about this launch to come, and think that they can pair just as well, as I mentioned, as neutrals in moody spaces, just as easily as they could pops of deep color. Finally, we are going to move into this idea of the smart home. And this is almost taking those trends and dynamics that we've been talking about and moving it one layer deeper. And the smart home is seems to be a very hot button topic for lots of people these days. So we wanted to share some of our thoughts on how these will be coming to life and impacting design trends. We have been calling our internal platform around this Kohler Connect, and this is our first sort of foray into the smart home category through groupings of products that we'll talk about in a minute. But first, to set the stage, this is a chart that showcases the adoption rate of smart speakers compared to other well-known technology items like TV, radio, internet, and computer. And the important thing about this is that by 2020, Gartner, an independent research firm, believes that 75% of U.S. households will have smart speakers. And that is important because smart speakers are considered the gateway to a smart home. People often start with smart speakers, and that's what then works them to lighting or appliances or other categories within that space. As you can see then, from the chart or the lines on the chart here, smart speakers have been adopted at a significantly faster rate than a lot of those other pieces of technology that we deem to be common and ordinary and just part of everyday life today. And we aren't the only ones that are saying this. You're seeing a lot of hospitality entities play with the idea of smart rooms. Brands like Hilton and Hyatt and everyone in between are actively working on how their rooms can be developed into smart rooms, so that at some point you would only need to use your phone to walk into a room. It would automatically recognize you. It would present your preferred light option, your preferred heating option, and you can see that the possibilities are endless, and that is actively being worked on. We also talked about earlier the fact that travel is a very large source of inspiration for homeowners in North America. And by having these smart rooms that people will experience in hospitality settings will only increase their comfort level with taking this technology and applying it into their home space. So if you think about hospitality on one end, you could also think about track builders on the other end. Companies like Lennar and many others are working on connected home options. So this is something that you're seeing at both ends of the design spectrum. So it will all start to meet in the middle, where more and more and more consumers are starting to demand solutions like this. So as we have sort of surveyed the land and tried to understand what's out there, one of the big things that we have discovered, and that shouldn't be a surprise to a lot of people, is that the majority of consumers want technology included in products that makes their lives better or that adds value. People don't want tech for tech's sake. It's a very small percentage of very early adopters that actually just want technology for technology's sake. So we took that and really thought hard about that as we were working on our vision, which is that the world will know Kohler as a brand that provides smart environments that help consumers care for themselves and the ones that they love. So it's not about just incorporating technology to say that we did it. It's about finding ways to make sure that smart environments can help make people's lives better. And one of the ways that technology can do this is through what we call our shed focus, where we are looking for products that can make people's lives safer, healthier, easier, and more delightful. And I'd be remiss if I didn't pause to say, especially with the safer aspect of it, that's an important consideration for us. The vast majority of falls in the home actually happen in the bathroom. So there are ways that technology can help make people's lives easier and or access to help when you need it more efficient. That's just better for everyone. And so in 2019, more of an emphasis on products that can do this is what you'll see coming from us, but a lot of other different categories as well. Now, the way that the Kohler Connect system works is actually through a few different integrations. There are the products that have technology incorporated into them. There is a cloud where those products communicate through and connected to an app that you would download on your phone that allows you to control the products or create your settings. This is all supported with partnerships. We want to work with the leading experts from a technology standpoint, whether that's Apple or Google or Amazon, or pick a company. We want to be brand agnostic and have our products work with all of those different platforms. We've also found, as I'm sure you will see continuing into 2019, that people pick a lane and they go with it. They either they're an Amazon home where everything is connected through Alexa, or they're a Google home. And they don't typically have multiple devices from competing brands within it. So we want to be able to work with everyone. We also partner with the leaders on the forefront of technology from a cloud security standpoint. We work with Microsoft Azure. They are the ones that are developing the latest and greatest from a firewall perspective to make sure privacy and security concerns are dealt with. So we want to partner with the best so that people have confidence that their data and anything that would be stored in a cloud is secure. So with that sort of setup for Kohler Connect in mind, the products that we are currently working into the Kohler Connect ecosystem are on the screen in front of you. And I apologize, they look a little bit hard to see, but they range from an integrated toilet that can connect through the app to a lighted mirror that you can use your voice to activate, to our DTV Plus steam showering system, to things like a kitchen faucet and working with our Sensate faucet and being able to use voice activation to turn on your faucet and tell it how much water you would like it to dispense. So those are just a few of the different examples that are coming to life in our Kohler Connect system now that are going to be available in early 2019. And as we get into late 2019 and 2020, you will see even more of these Kohler Connect or technology-enabled products that are coming to life. With that in mind, we would love to thank you for your time and attention today. We hope that you were able to take away some nuggets from either the cultural dynamics or how those dynamics are impacting design trends and products that will be coming in 2019. And we look forward to seeing what comes from all of you and the projects that you're working on. Thank you very much.